Bidenomics make them poor so they have to depend on government. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, the 7th of April. And boy, the year is flying by and markets took a little bit of a tumble, and there's all kinds of dissent and problems around the globe, but no more than there are in the United States of America, as Bidenomics is destroying this country. And of course, we just saw another jobs number that was 303,000. 50% of those jobs were government, which means that you, as an American citizen, have employed more people once again, because you know that you are the one who is paying for the jobs that are being created. The government doesn't pay for them. You do. I do. We do as taxpayers. And of course, all that Bidenomics is doing is creating a bunch of poor people, a bunch of homeless people. And if you go back in history and you look at Adolf Hitler and you look at Jim Jones, they created cults that did things that, because they were hungry, because they were poor, they did things that they would never thought that anybody would do. And of course, this is the same thing as what Bidenomics is creating. It is creating a lot of poor people. And if you haven't looked around at the number of homeless here or the people that are not working, you know, we only seem to look at those that are succeeding and that are in restaurants, casinos, and who knows if they have enough money to be there either, but they are certainly still have credit left to continue. But we are creating a massive disaster as they continue to blame President Trump. And that we've seen many of headlines of Trump saying that America will cease to exist if he doesn't win the election on November 5th. Well, I don't know that quote is 100% in context nor in anything else. But again, we are certainly reaching a point of key trouble spots that this country could be destroyed. And certainly we could see the new China in the United States of America and the Northern Hemisphere, because it is my opinion, okay, and again, it's conspiracy theory, but I look around at some of the markets and I see that the farmers here continue to struggle. And what better way to take over the world than to put pressure on farmers to sell their farmland to the Chinese to help turn the United States into a communist country. Joe Biden has made that possible. He has given China basically free rein, from the open borders to the money that we give them to the control that they have. And of course, if you don't remember, it has been proven, and I have been proven correct, that COVID was a man-made disease that was sent over here. But you can ignore it as you want, as we've talked about many times. Ignorance and unwillingness to look at what is right in your face will cost you dearly in the future. And it may not cost you, but if you've got kids or grandchildren, it's going to cost them. And of course, we've got still major problems in the Mideast. And now we've got, of course, once again, a group trying to stop Israel from taking care of themselves. That little pimple in the middle of the Mideast that is about less than 1% the size of anybody else, that has to defend themselves constantly. And of course, where is Chuck Schumer? Where are the people that are out trying to help? Oh, they're not. They're trying to destroy Israel like everybody else. Okay. So again, I think when we look at what is going on in this country, I think that you have to be very concerned and very aware. You've now got new policies being brought by FedEx, UPS, adding delivery fees in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. Gee, what a shock. New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. Isn't that interesting? Well, the three highest tax states on top of everything else. Okay, but of course, those states make it almost impossible to live in, okay, for anybody who doesn't have gazillions of dollars, because, of course, if you're an average American, you can't live there anymore. You can't afford to live there anymore. Powell warns Congress and Fed independence. The Fed has not been independent for years, okay? Listen, we can go back to when Donald Trump begged Powell to cut rates, okay, himself. So again, he's not innocent of this whole thing as well. But again, at the end of the day, the only way there will be rate cuts this year is if we are in major catastrophe. If you want to believe the numbers, which I don't, but if you want to believe the numbers that the government reports, the 300,000 jobs the other day, the rest of the news that they tell us that inflation is coming down. I don't know about you, but I'm paying more for gas. I'm paying more for food. I'm paying more for everything, and the prices don't seem to come down. But again, you can keep telling me that you're in charge. And remember, the Fed's facts are simple. Their job is employment and stability. Okay, not to be out every single day talking about interest rate cuts and trying to move the stock market. Okay, that is not their job, and they shouldn't be out talking. But of course, this goes back to Alan Greenspan, the greatest bubble builder in our time, who had turned this economy into a piece of shit, going back to 1980. Since if you can see the destruction of your dollar and the rise in inflation since then, you can see that what they have done is not good for you, the American people. Of course, the good news is not that I want to see Trump. I mean, I would like to have seen Ramaswamy, but I would now hope that Trump would reconsider Ramaswamy as a VP candidate. But it's going to be Trump, and he is leading Biden in 6 of the 7 key swing states. Again, we know that the party in power now has a lot of larceny in their heart, and they are doing everything they can to criticize, keep Trump tied up in court, starting to buy the student vote. And of course, they're using your money to buy the vote on campuses. They are paying people to sign people up to vote. And you can bet your ass they're not signing up kids who want to vote Republican. Okay, they're voting. They're signing up those who want to vote Democratic. But again, you can see the Supreme Court that is going to make a very big decision and a very high stakes decision on Trump. And again, I think it's really a shame that one party can do this to another party and create so much havoc. Okay, not to mention that they've already tried to get RFK out of the race. Okay, so basically they're trying to take away your choice. They're taking away your freedom, and you're going to sit by and stand by and do nothing. I think you ought to think about that. You've got about 6 months to think about what your future is going to look like. And if you're happy with the way things are going now, hey, I can't tell you not to be happy. But if you don't realize what you're giving up right now, I think you will find that there is a lot of issues out there that are only going to get worse, because if you go back to your history books, they are turning most of the American people into serfs. Okay. Behind the election rhetoric, Democratic utilize real known strategy, which is, again, to sign up students. Okay. And of course, we see gold and silver and oil charging higher. A lot of reasons for that. But one of the reasons is that there's a real concern that our currency may cease to exist. Our country may cease to exist. Because, again, when you continue to allow your enemies to come openly in with open borders, because if you know how many Chinese are coming in through the border, do you know that they're not spies? Do you know they're not in here to get things? And again, I warn you about the farmland, okay? Because I do believe that China is one of the reasons that we're seeing the prices stay down in the grain markets, which is destroying the farmers. Because if you look around commodities around the globe, most of them are soaring higher. The only ones under heavy pressure are the main 3 crops that are grown here, which is corn, soybeans, and wheat. Okay, so I think you can expect a lot, and of course, you can expect no help from your administration that is there now, unless you want to just give up more of your money. They are and have no interest in making America great again. And they are calling those who support making America great again delusional, and we need to be reprogrammed. Well, can you not see that you are being programmed yourself to continue? We'll talk about that more in our commentary. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, April the 7th. We're going to stop out here for a break, and we'll be back with more. What's up, kids? How you doing? And of course, you know we've got some sponsors for the show, and of course, I bring them to you every week, and they are brokerage partners. And again, I urge you to check them out. But I tell you that I do have other brokers at the same time. But again, in life, it comes down to money. And I want you to save as much as you can and get the best execution you can. And of course, those are my partners, which is Capital Trading Group, okay, which is our futures and commodities broker, who does all of our letter of direction trading and partners with us on a couple of products. Check them out, info.capitaltradinggroup.com/Bubba. And of course, that's scrolling on the sides there. And of course, TRADIER brokerage that saves me $100,000 a year on commissions alone. They do our automated trading for us through our program. And of course, hedgers pay a small licensing fee. But if you're in our equity portfolios or our new SPY program, that is all done through automation. You have to do nothing but just sit back and watch the trades take place. And of course, wealth charts, which I'll be doing a webinar with on this week on March 11th. April 11th, be close. I will be doing a webinar for them April 11th. So make sure you check that out. And of course, our high school program, which again, we're trying to, we're getting a lot of pushback too from government agencies trying to prevent us from educating our youth on financial literacy. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with me, Todd Bubba Horwitz, and of course, our financial commentary. Welcome back. What's going on, everybody? This is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, April the 7th. And of course, every week we talk about what the markets are doing. And last week was pretty ugly for the markets. Again, not disastrous. And I do think, and it does appear that we may be seeing the overall tops in markets. Again, I'm not predicting a top. I don't want anybody to ever get the wrong idea. The trend has turned to the downside. I think there's a lot of reasons to believe that we could be headed lower. There's always that one big key that we have to remember, that this is an election year. And very rarely during election years, the market go down. And of course, if we talk about rate cuts, there is no legitimate way that the Fed can cut rates except for these two. Number one, a political move to help keep this administration in place, which would be ridiculous. But again, that is one. Okay. Two is if there's real major problems in banks, which I believe either are possible. Now, I don't know if we're going to see those problems come out. You remember the last big banking crisis was during the 2008 election. Okay. As we saw President Obama take office and beat, of course, that ridiculous ticket of McCain and Palin, which was a toss away. Okay. In the meantime, the markets are down pretty predominantly. The Dow, S&P, Russell, and NASDAQ. We are short them all right now. And again, remember, we don't always hold a position. We are sometimes flat during the period, but I always give you the general trend. And during the week on the updates, I give you what our actual position is. The dollar, which we don't trade anymore, and it has nothing to do with whether we believe in the dollar or not. It's just simply a matter of cost. But the dollar, we would be long, which continues to soar higher. The euro currency, we are short. The bonds and notes, we are short. And of course, that tells you interest rates are going higher. The 10-year is reached 4.5%. Okay. Bitcoin, we are short. Again, I'm a big believer in Bitcoin, but I do believe that 60,000 needs to probably play in here again. But we are short right now. Gold and silver and platinum have all taken off, and we would be long platinum, which we don't trade anymore because it's not liquid enough for us. But gold and silver, we are long. And again, I think gold obviously could go higher, but I think 2,500 is in the cards this year. I think silver mid-30s is in the cards this year. But again, remember, those are also a potential currency because of the criminal manipulated fiat currency system. And the reason it can be manipulated is because there is no backing to any currency. It is backed by the central banking system, which has been criminals since the 1600s in England. So again, you can take that for what it's worth. Copper continues to go higher, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but we are long copper. In the grain markets, we're long corn, we're long beans, and we're going to be long wheat tonight or tomorrow. That'll be up to you. You'll know. But again, I don't give out official recommendations until the morning of so that I can see what the short-term trend is, because we're going to be with the long-term trend. So we're either going to be flat or in. But we're going to be long the grain markets now. But they're still at really ridiculously prices here based on what's going on, which goes back to my theory that China may have their thumb on the scale here. In the meats, as we thought, cattle got crocked, and we're short cattle. I mean, we don't officially trade it. I trade it. And again, it's who can afford to eat steak? And of course, hogs have gone higher, which makes sense. And we're long hogs, short cattle. The softs continue to be very strong. Cocoa got over $1 this week, which is an all-time historic high. Came all the way back down to 95. Now is running back towards the $1. Cotton still looks okay. We're still long. Sugar, we're long. OJ, we're long. And coffee, we're long. And of course, in the crude oil market and the crude and natural gas, crude is exploding higher. Again, I'm sure part of it's got to do with the Middle East, but also part of it's got to do with the imbecile that's running this place, because of course they continue to drain the SPR, which is what we've said all along. It ain't bringing oil prices down, and we're way down and dry on what is supposed to be there for wartime. And natural gas continues to struggle, but it's not a surprise this time of year that natural gas is struggling, because of course there's not heavy demand for natural gas in the summer, spring and summer. So I think that, again, there's a good possibility that the top of the markets are in, but it doesn't mean that you go out and sell everything. Again, you have to play the overall statistics of the market. If you're an investor, you should be holding, you should be hedged is the best thing to do, but if you're not hedged, you should at least be holding. And the only reason you should be liquidating anything that you own is if something is fundamentally changed in that company. But overall, we are seeing a market that is, again, over the history of its term, it's gone up 8.5% year over year. But again, in the short term here, I could see things getting ugly, and I could see some banks start to get in trouble. But again, the one fly in the ointment is that it is an election year, so we have to be careful at getting overly bearish here, as again, we are fighting against statistical information. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line. Top Bubba Horowitz. We'll step out here for our final break and come back with my commentary right after the break. Bubba's Bottom Line. Well, kids, again, I'm not going to go through the whole speech. Remember, these are brokerage partners that I have. I do have other brokers, just to be full disclosure, but check them out. You've got TRADIER brokerage, you've got Capital Trading Group, and you've got Wealth Charts along with our high school program. On the sides and the bottom, you can see the links if you want to check them out. And I urge you, whether you switch or not, I urge you to check it out. It's always like shopping for a better rate and something that is better for you as a trader or an investor. Let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and, of course, my commentary right now. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line, Top Bubba Horowitz. And, of course, well, what can I tell you? I kind of led towards it in the beginning. But, you know, there's something interesting when you take people that were working and had some money, at least could live a good middle-class life, and you turn them into poor people. You are creating a cult that then becomes dependent on, in this case, government. Okay? The jobs that we are creating are government jobs. The programs that we're creating are to help those that they have busted. They have systematically tried to destroy all small business, to destroy capitalism. And this is your Bidenomics at work. Okay, this is Joe Biden at his best, destroying the country, destroying your wallet, destroying your life. Because again, at the end of the day, okay, if your life is better today than it was 4 years ago, God bless. But I don't know anybody who tells me that their life is better today than it was 4 years ago. And I know that there's a lot more unemployed now and making a lot less money now. And I know that the jobs number is a bunch of bullshit that came out on Friday. 300,000, 50% of those jobs were government jobs. And I will guarantee you, okay, and I would bet anybody, any amount of money, okay, that when the next jobs report comes out in May, that this report will be revised lower, as 12 or 11 out of the last 13 have been done. So if you want to be a member of this cult, keep doing the same thing you're doing now. But if you want to get out and you want to have some opportunity for capitalism, you better think about this coming up to the next election. Because at the end of the day, I'm not saying don't vote for Joe Biden. I wouldn't. But again, it's not me you're asking. I'm telling you to think about it and make sure that your life is improving with this administration. And put your personal feelings aside as to what you think about somebody, and remember about your own life and what's happening. Because if you continue to ignore until it affects you really directly, it'll be too goddamn late for you to do anything about it. This is Bubba's Bottom Line, Top Bubba Horowitz. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow with Bubba's Daily Update. Have a great weekend, everybody.